Okay, good to vach everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming and joining us for our learning of Masechtas Avoda Zara. We are sponsored by Shalom Fogli, Nishmas Yaakov Zeb ben Yehuda, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef ben Tziyam ben Yaakov Zeb, and Fechayet Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel, by Baruch Ian Lidl Nishmas Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram ben Shmuel HaKayin, for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for Yeshua Nachum Mendel ben Bela Sheinel Rivka, by A.B. Spry, for great zivugim for their daughter and grandchildren, Lefur Shalema for Teba Reiza Bas Hinda, and by Menachem Yamansky, for those that are looking for a zivug, they should find it quickly and easily, and Eddie Chazan for the safety of Am Yisrael and the protection of the IDF and their success. We are holding on Daf Chesamid Beis, bottom of Daf Chesamid Beis. If you remember, we said on Thursday night that the Romans made up with the Jews that if they go into a coalition against the Greeks, then if the Romans would have king, then the Jews would have the governor. If the Jews would have the king, then the Romans would have the governor. It says they kept their faith for 26 years, and after that they dominated the Jews the rest of the time. So the Gemara says, but I don't understand. Meya ushmainim v'sulai, only 180 years and not more. V'atani Rabbi Yaisi Berebi taught Malchus Pras Bifnei Abayis. The Persians were the reigning power at the beginning of the Second Temple for Shloshim V'Arba Shana, for 34 years, first under Kyrish, then under Darius II, Daryavish Beis, which very possibly was Esther's son. Malchus Yavin Bifnei Abayis Meo Shmainim Shana. Malchus Yavin was 180 years. And then Malchus Chashmonai, the Chashmonaim dynasty, was Bifnei Abayis Meo V'Shalosh, 103 years. And Beis Hurdas Meo V'Shalosh. And then the Herodian dynasty was another 103 years. So the total of the Jewish reign was 206 years. Mekan ve'elech, and then afterwards, say v'chashav kamashanim achar churban abayis, until where you were at the time, how many years after the churban abayis. But it calculates that we know that the Romans conquered the Greeks, and it says that the time of the Jews was 206 years. Not only 180 years. So the Gemara says, Alma Masin V'Shithava. The Jewish reign was 206 years. V'at Amrit, and you say that they were under the Romans only Meya V'Shmainim Hava, only 180 years. So says the Gemara, that's because the first 26 years of the 206 years, the Roman kept their faith. The Romans kept their faith, and if there was a Roman Tsar, then the Jew was the governor, or vice versa. And therefore, when it says about Roman domination, it doesn't say that the Malchus Rishah was over the Yisrael for 206 years, but only for 180 years, because the first 26 years they kept their faith. And I think I could start welcoming in everybody over here as we welcome in Mo Kushner and Irving Fishbaum, Saba, Berish Gesseman, Yitzi Fuchs, Mel Zachter, A.B. Spry, Mark Frankel, who is always wonderful to see, Menachem Yamansky, Israel Fisher, Dr. Guy, Marshall Castle, Dr. Black, Yaakov Warman, Michal, Shimon Dimmer, Nachman Chapler, Barry Cement, and wonderful to have Philippe join us, really a nice treat. Gedalia Engel, Stephen Holtzman, Yeshua Shmuel, Eisenberg, Yitzi Muller, Baruch, Eli Yeshutman, Chaim Braun, Shelley Zeitlin, and David Helfgott. It's great to have all of you joining us. So now,
where are we up to, please, Rabbi?
The first wide line on Daf Tes Amud Aleph. The first wide line on Daf Tes Amud Aleph. Amar Papa, Itoi Haitana, the lo yada prote kamahava. If a Tana makes a mistake and doesn't know how many years, how many years there is after the Churban, he doesn't know. Now, he knows, obviously, the century, but he doesn't know the exact number. That's called prote. He doesn't know, is it 12 years, is it 13 years, etc. L'shayle l'safra kamaksiv. Now, the scribes dated their shtarais from the beginning of Greek domination. Now, but this is a little bit confusing because Greek domination really started 386 years before the Churban, because the Greeks were 180, then the Herodian, the Hashmonaim dynasty was 103 years, and then the Herodian dynasty was 103 years. So that's 206 plus 180 is 386. However, they only started dating after 6 years of Greek domination, because initially the Greeks only dominated Elam, and then afterwards they dominated widespread. So therefore the Sofrim started counting 380 years before the Churban. So let's say, for example, let's just take an example. Let's say Shelley has a document that's dated in the Greek number. It says that in the year 400 he bought a property from Berish. Now, if you know it's the year 400, so then it's simple to figure out how many years it's after the Churban. Now, really, all you would do is you would deduct from 400, 380. And therefore you would know that it's 20 years after the Churban. But the Gemara gives us a different way of calculating it. Itoy Aitana, if you're not sure, below yoda prote kamahava, you don't know how many years it is after the Churban. L'shayle l'safra kamaksiv, ask the cipher what date it is. And if he's writing this year that it's year 400 of the minion of the Greeks, then minitafei alayu esvin, add to it 20, and then you would know it's umishkech le'lechumra. You'll find your answer to your riddle. You'll know that it's 20 years after the Churban. Now, you would have found that out in such a simple case by taking 400 and deducting from it 380, which is from the time of the Greeks until the Churban, and you would know that it's 20 years after the Churban. But this is another way to calculate that it's 20 years after the Churban. Of course, you could make it more complicated. You could say that it's, let's say the Greeks dated it at 560. So at 560, if you deduct 380 from 560, what would you get? No? Where's our accountants?
180?
What?
180?
180, right? So if you would add 20 to 180, you would get 00. So that would mean that it's One second. Hold on. I got myself famished over here. Let's see. If it's the year 560 in Greek. So if it's the year 560 in Greek, right. So if you would deduct 380 from it, you would get
180.
You would get 180, right? So then what you do is you take 560 and you add 20 to it, and that gives you 80. Now, remember we said he just didn't know the prate. He knew which century it is. So therefore, he would know that it's 180. That's the way to calculate it. V'simonech, and the sign to know to add 20 is that zeli esim shana bebeisecha. So we add 20 to the number. Now, the Gemara gives us the reverse scenario. Itoi safra, if somebody wants to date a document and he forgot the exact year to date the document, nishaylo l'tama kama choshev, he should ask how many years it is after the Churban. So let's say it's 40 years after the Churban. Now, if it's 40 years after the Churban, so in order to know how to date the shtar, we would have to add 380 to the 40, right? Because that's when the Greek started, the Greek domination started, right? Because it's 180, then 103 of the Hashmonaean dynasty, and then 103 of the Herodian dynasty. But remember, we don't count the first 6 years of the Greek dynasty, because they only ruled Elam, so it's 380. So 380 plus 40 would be 420. Now, he knows how many centuries it is, so he knows the 4. He doesn't know the prati. So what you do is, remember we said it's 40 years after the Churban, so we deduct 20 from it, and therefore he would know that it's 420. And that's what the Gemara says. Itoi Safra, if he doesn't know what the Greek count is, Nishayle Latana Kama Choshev, he asks the Tana how many years it is after the Churban, V'nifzer minayu esrin shnin, and he deducts from it 20 years, Mishkech leila chumrei, and he would get his answer, V'simonech Safra B'tzira, to the scribe deducts, Tana, who wants to know what year of the Churban is, Taisva, he adds 20. Now,
why does one deduct and one add?
Why does one deduct and one add?
Yeah.
You want to know why it mathematically works that way?
No, why is the cipher the one that's deducting and the ton is the one that's adding?
Because that's the way it works out. When you're trying to calculate how many years it is from the Churban, from the Greek number, then you have to add. When you want to do the reverse, you have to deduct. So now the Gemara tells us, Tana debei Eliyahu, sheifshes alofim shana havayaylam. The world will exist for 6 millennia, for 6,000 years. Shnei alofim toyu, 2,000 years is void, is no Torah. Shnei alofim Torah, 2,000 years Torah, and then Shnei alofim Yemaisa Mashiach, the 2,000 years afterwards is the expected time of Yemaisa Mashiach, and ba'avoneseinu, in our sins, sherabu yotzu mehem mashi yotzu. Ba'avoneseinu sherabu, because of our great sins, yotzu mehem mashi yotzu. Depending where you are at the time, that's how many years of the 2,000 years are already used up. Now the question is, and this is a problem, Shnei alofim Torah me'emas. When does the 2000 of Torah start? And here's we get into a lot of trouble. Because inema mimatan Torah, if it starts from Har Sinai, which would be when you would think the 2000 of Torah start, ad hashta, until the year 4000, lekakulahai. You don't have 2000 years. The chima einis behu, with this trey alpha, prate dahai alphahu dahava. You only have 1,000 plus a little bit more than half. Now let me tell you how this works. It's known that Avram Avinu was born in the year 1948 from creation. Now it's very easy to prove that as well, because we know how old Adam was, and we know how old Shais was, and we know how old Noach was. We know that Avram Avinu was 52 when Noach died. We could, but I'm telling you, to simplify matters, Avram Avinu was born in the year 1948. So that's already almost the first 2,000 years. Then to Har Sinai was another 400 years. Let's figure it out. Avram was 100 years when he had Yitzchak, and Yitzchak was 60 years when he had Yaakov. So that's already 160. Then Yaakov was 130 when he went down to Mitzrayim. So that's already 290. Plus the 210 in Egypt is 500 years. So in 1948 plus 500 is 2,448. And it was in the year 2,448 that the Torah was given. So you can't say that the year 2000, that the time of Torah started at Har Sinai. That was the second 2000, because it's already 2,448. So something's wrong with the cheshbon. So the Gemara answers, Ela me'es hanefesh asher asu b'chara. The start of the 2000 of Torah is when Avram Avinu started making nefashos and introducing to them the Torah, when it says es hanefesh asher asu b'chara. And at that time, Avram Avinu was 52 years old. V'gemirei d'Avram b'hi shata bar chamshin v'tartei. So now that's very simple to figure out, because if you take the 500 years from Avram's birth to Har Sinai and deduct from that 52, you're left with exactly 448. So therefore, if you minus 448 from Har Sinai, you come to Es HaNefesh Asher Asa B'Charan. So it's exactly the year 2000 when Avram Avinu started teaching Torah and making nefashos, and that starts the 2000 of Torah. Because Kama Batzrei Miditani Tana, how much is it less than that which the Tana teaches that Har Sinai was at 2,448? Arba Me'av Arba Tamnei Shnin Havin. It's 448 till the year 2000. When you calculate from the year of when Avram Avinu was 52, ad Matan Torah until Matan Torah, that's exactly Arba Me'av Arba Mitamnei Shnin. That's exactly 448 years. Havyan, and therefore the year 2000, when Avram taught as Hanefesh Asher Asu B'Charan, that's when it started the 2000 of Torah. Everybody good so far?
Yeah.
Now, Amar Papa Itoi Tana V'lo Yoda Prata Kamahave. Now here, what is he forgetting? Now it's such a funny way of presenting this, but now what is he forgetting? If he doesn't know how many years it is after the beginning of the Messianic era. In other words, he doesn't know how many years it is in the 5th millennia. In other words, the year 4000, how many years is there from the year 4000? Now here, the calculation is as follows. Matan Torah, as we said, was in the year 2448. Now, we know that from Matan Torah till the Bayis Rishon was 480 years. So that brings us to 2,928. Now we also know that the Bayis Rishon was 410 years. So that brings us to 3,338. Then there was the Gullus for 70 years, the Gullus Bavel, Kates Bavel, Zerubbabel, the Kate Shivim Noishati. So that brings us to 3,408. Then we have the Bayis Sheni. Now the Bayis Sheni lasted for 420 years. So that brings us to 3,828. So the Bayis Sheni was destroyed in the year 3,828. Now, how many years is there from the destruction of the Bayis Sheni till the beginning of the 5th millennia? 172 years. Right? Right. So from the destruction of the Bayis Sheni until the beginning of the Ikvasa de Mashiach is 172 years. Now we're going to work with the Minyan Shtaris. Remember, the Minyan Shtaris is from the Greek domination minus the 6 years, which we don't count because then the Greeks only ruled Elam. So that's 380 years before the Churban. So if we want to know how much is the Greek contract, counting from the Greeks, when does it start? At the beginning of the 5th millennia, at the beginning of Ikvasa de Mashiach, we do 380 plus 172, or that's 552. So 552, if a Greek star is dated 552, that would be right at the beginning of the Ikvasa de Mashiach, at the end of 4,000 years. So now, says the Gemara, Amara Papa, Itoi Tana, if a Tana makes an error, V'lo yoda prata kamahave, and he doesn't know how many years it is into the Ikvasa Mashiach, L'shayle l'safra kamaksiv. So let's say the cipher, let's take an example. Let's say the cipher says that on his star now, he writes in the year 650. That's what he writes. He writes it's the year 650 of the Greek star. Now we know that if we would deduct from 650, 552, we would come out to how many years it is after after 4,000, because it was the Greeks is 552 until the beginning of the 5th millennia. So that would be 650 minus 552 would be 14 minus 5. It would be 98 years. So that's one way of calculating it. Am I right? What?
I thought it was what were the numbers?
650 minus 552.
Okay,
Am I right?
I think so, yes.
So says the Gemara, how would you calculate it out? V'niftafe alayu arbon v'tamne. Add to 52, 48. No, what did I say? What did I say? If the Greeks, if the Greeks counted 650, add to 650, 48, and what do you get? 698. Remember, we don't look at we only look at the prate. So here you have the prate is 98, which is exactly 98 after the beginning of the new millennia. So again, let's see it inside. Amra papi tani tana v'lo yada prate kamahave l'shayla l'safra kamaksiv. How much does he write in the Greek date? V'nitaftay alayu arba mitamne. Add to it 48. Or mishkech le'lechumre, and you'll have the answer to your riddle. So let me repeat that again. From the Churban until the beginning of the 5th millennia is 172 years. 380 is the amount till the Churban, when they started counting on the contract from the Greeks. So 380 plus 172 is 552, which brings you to the beginning of the new millennia. Now I said, if somebody came with a star that's dated in the Greek dating, maybe at 650. So says the Gemara, if you want to know how many years it is after the beginning of the new millennia, add 48 to the 650, and you'll have 698. You take the prate, which is 98, and you would know that it's 98 years into the Ikvus of the Mashiach. V'simonech, and a sign to remember this, is Arbam V'shmoina Ir, 48 cities. That's the cities of the Levium. Now, the other way around, the Itoi Safra, if the cipher is not sure what year he should be dating, Nishayle Latana Kama Kitani, ask the Tana how many years it is from the advent of the Ikvus of the Mashiach. So let's say it's the Tana says it's 69 years from the beginning of the Ikvus of the Mashiach. Now, really, we would know that. How do you calculate that? We would add 552 to the 69, and that would give us the amount of the Greek date, which would be 621. But says the Gemara, there's a simple way to figure it out. Take 69, deduct from it 48, and you get 21. Now the cipher knows which century it is. The cipher knows it's 621. It's 6. He didn't know the date. That's the way to figure it out. And that's what the Gemara says. V'itoi safra nishayla latana kama kitani. How many years it is after the Yemaisa Mashiach started. V'nifter minayu arba mishmayna. Deduct from it 48. or mishkach leila chumrei, and you'll find an answer to your riddle. So let's go again that over. If it was the 69th year after the ikvus of the Mashiach, so we know that we could add 552, which is the 38 plus the 172, to year 4000, which would give us 621. But the Gemara tells us if the Sefer knows it's 600, he just doesn't know how many, take 69 and deduct from it 48, and you'll get 21, and that's how he'll know the prate. The simanech, again, the siman is safra b'tzira, the Sefer deducts, and Tana Teisva, and the Tana adds. New subject. I told you this is not a Gemara that you'll forget very quickly. Look at Mark over there. He has his crayons out. He's writing it all down.
Is this going to be under the Regents?
It's not going to be on the Regents. It's going to be on your smicha test.
Okay. Math 101 is over now.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Oh, Lord.
Not yet. It's not going to help to daven to the Lord. Now, Amar Rav Huna Brady Reb Yeshua. If you don't know, after the Bayesheni, they started calculating the Shemitah anew. The Bayesheni was destroyed in the first year of the new Shemitah. But since it was Tisha B'Av, they didn't count that year. So they started the year after. Because Tisha B'Av is almost the end of the year. So they started counting the Shemitah the year after. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Huna Beredi Reb Yeshua, Hai man de lo yada kama shnei b'shvuahu oimed. If he doesn't know which year of the Shemitah is it? Is it the 4th year of the Shemitah? Is it the 5th year of the Shemitah? It's very nageya, because in the 3rd year of the Shemitah, you have to give Meiser Ani. In the 6th year of the Shemitah, you have to give Meiser Ani. The 5th year, you give Meiser Sheni. He doesn't know which year of the Shemitah it is. Then, when calculating the Churban, Nitafei Chad Shata, you have to add 1 year. Because, as I said, it didn't start from right after the Churban, because the Churban was Tisha B'Av. So it started the next year. And then Nichshev Klolei B'Yovlei Uprate B'Shvuei. You calculate the centuries as Yovels and the remaining years as Shemitahs. Now, I'm going to give you an example over here, otherwise this is going to sound like gobbledygook. Maybe it'll sound like gobbledygook anyway, but at least it'll be easier gobbledygook. And if you don't know what gobbledygook is, ask Marsha. Let's say it's 360 years from the Churban. So we add 1 year. So now it's 361. The 3 centuries we calculate as 2 Yovels plus 2 years. Now even this is not so simple, because this is going according to the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda, that the year of Yovel is also the first year of the next Shemitah cycle. So therefore, in a 100-year period, there's two Yovels in 98 years. And then you have 2 extra years. So I said, if it's 360 years from the Churban, we add 1 year because we start the next year, so that's 361. The 3 centuries, we count 2 odd years for each century, because it's 2 yovels, and then 2 more years. So 361, 3 centuries would be 3 times 2 is 6, plus 61 is 67. We then take 67 and divide it by 7. So what's 7 into 67? It's
9 remainder 4.
9 plus.
it's 9
Remainder 4.
with a remainder of 4. So it's the 4th year of the Shemitah cycle. That's how you figure it out, that it's the 4th year of the Shemitah cycle. And let's see that in the Gemara. Hayman de lo yoda kama shnei b'shvuahu. If he doesn't know how many years of the Shemitah it is, I made, niptafe chad shata, he adds 1 year from the Korban. V'nechshav klolei b'yoivlei, he counts most of the centuries as yovels, or protei b'shvuei, and the specific years as years of the Shemitah. V'nishkal memeya trei, from every century he takes 2, because 98 years is 2 yovlos, so that's a finished packages. And then there's 2 odd years from each century. So therefore, if it's 360 from the Churban, so that's 361. From the 3 centuries, he takes 2 from each century, so that's 6. V'nishde aprate, and he throws it onto the 61. V'nachshavinu leprate b'shvuei, and then he divides the 67 by 7. And with the remainder, as everybody said, it's 9 and 4 remainder, v'yoda kameshnei b'shvua, and he'll know how many years there is, which year of the Shemitah it is. V'simonech, and the sign is, kizesh nosayim harav b'kerev haaretz. Now that sign is to remind you that you all have to count 2 years for each century. Pretty much, Rabbi Sai, that's the end of the hard Gemara. That's the Mark looks so disappointed. Sorry, Mark, you can't have everything.
You said that assuming Yovel is included as year 1, right? So there must be that.
What did you say?
You said that assuming Yovel is year 1 of Shemitah, right?
Right, that's going according to Rabbi Yehuda, not according to the Chacham. Now, Amar Reb Chanina, Achar Arba Meis L'Churban Abayis, if after 400 years from the Churban, Im Yoimelach Adam Kach Stei Shava Elef Dinarim B'Dinner Echad, if he offers you a field of 1,000 dinar for 1 dinar, Loi Sikach, because at that time they were certain that Mashiach would come by then. So don't buy a field of 1,000 dinar for a dinner, because you're going to go up to Eretz Yisrael and you're going to get your Yerusha, your Chelik, and your Shevet, and it's wasting your money. But Masni Satana, in a Braisa, it says they said a different thing. Achar Arba'as Alofim, after the year 4,000, Umashayim Ushloishim V'achar Shana L'Briyas Haylam, after the year 4,231 from the creation of the world, Im Yaimelach Adam, if somebody tells you, Kach l'chasad shava be'elef dinarim b'dinar echad, buy a field for 1,000 dinar for a dinner, al tikach. Don't take it because Mashiach will come. So what's the difference between saying from the year 4,231 or from saying 400 years after the Churban? So that's easy to calculate, because 400 years after the Churban is of that 400, 172 years takes you to the year 5000. So what's 400 minus 172? 400 minus 172 is Rabbi say, what's 400 minus 172?
228.
228. So 228, and it says 400 years after the Churban, so we have to add, to 228, we have to add, to get us to 400, we have to add 172, right? So according to that cheshbon, Mashiach would be supposed to be come. No, I'm making a mistake over here. My numbers are wrong.
It's 228 to 31, as it said in the Gemara.
What?
We just calculated 228 and the Gemara said 31, which is a scrap.
Oh yeah, it is good. What am I saying? So it would be 228 in the new millennium, and the other, that would be 4,228, and the other amount was 4,231. So it's a 3-year difference. So that's what the Gemara says, that it's a 3-year difference. My benayu, ika benayu, tlashnin, the masnisen, that the Mishnah that says 4,231, tafya tlashne, is 3 years more. Okay, let's just pause a minute to change over the channel over here.